The Over the Bonnet podcast is brought to you by Gympie Central Medical Centre, Gympie Foam and Rubber, Luscious Leaks and bepositive.com.au. In this episode I get to chat with a man who uses his uncanny likeness to carve out a living as a Freddie Mercury impersonator. John Blunt fronts a band known as the Killer Queen Experience and tours all over the world, keeping the memory of the legendary Queen frontman alive.
Over the Bonnet with Mark Piepers.
Well, at least the guests are good. You'll never know what happens with the conversation when it's over the bonnet.
You're kidding me, aren't you?
John Blunt, welcome to Over the Bonnet.
Thank you very much, Mark, for having me.
A lot's happening at the moment. We've just been told that Brisbane is in lockdown.
Yeah, I know. I just got off the phone to my father. He rang me not long after we got here and said, we're in lockdown. So I think I saw it coming when, unfortunately, the individual was roaming around where I live. It's pretty much where I live, you know. So I just was like, oh, no. And that's the key word of this year. It's uncertainty. Like, we get asked a lot with our show, when are you coming here? When are you coming there? And we say, well, we don't know. Anything could happen. So, I mean, it's only 3 days, but yeah, it's extremely annoying and frustrating.
How will it affect you?
Well, it probably won't affect us too much because we don't have any gigs this weekend. But it does seem to upset the attendance or the level of people we can have in whether it be auditoriums or pubs. That seems to, they reduce the amount or the percentage of people. I think now in most or some places it's 50% in theatres, or it might be 75% of in clubs and pubs, but it can affect it that way, you know. But we'll wait and see. Who knows? I think this is the UK strain too. So anyway, we'll find out. But it's yeah. I mean, we're lucky. We're in the lucky country. I mean, there are people over. I've got friends in America and friends in London, and they are doing it way tougher. So I shouldn't whinge, I suppose. But yeah, they're doing it heaps tougher than us.
How are they dealing with it?
There's a lot of disturbing posts that I see go up about people not coping, and it looks, you know, a lot of my friends in the tribute business, and I can hear them sort of, well, I can read what they're saying, that it could mean retirement for them. Like, they just don't know when they're going to go back to work or when they can open up places. So yeah, it's distressing, and it's a funny old place we're living in at the moment. It really is quite it feels like a bad movie or a sequel to the bad movie. But I'm hoping next year will be better. I think a lot of people thought that when we enter 2020, that'll be the end of COVID. You're like, oh, it's a new year, that'll be the end of it, but it's still with us. So but anyway, unfortunately, this is the time and place that we're living in now, so we just got to live with it, unfortunately.
Will you get vaccinated?
Yeah, well, they were talking about a vaccinated passport or something, which means if you have this passport that says you've been vaccinated, you can go into certain places. That's what they're looking at in the UK too. But yeah, I mean, I guess if we have to, we have to, but we'll see what happens, you know, see how bad it gets here. Like I said, we're in the lucky country here at the moment. In fact, I went into a shop in Coolangatta, and it was just all old props and memorabilia and things like that. I can't remember the name of it now, but I said to the owner, you know, do you get many movie people coming in here, like producers and props, people looking for props and things? And he said, mate, all the time, and apparently the next 5 years, Queensland have been booked, and New South Wales have been booked for Marvel movies, the Avenger movies. So everyone's making movies here because it's the safest place on the earth at the moment. So,
well, Tom Hanks got it here though.
Yeah, I know. That was just because he got COVID. I think when he landed here, I think he got COVID. But anyway, yeah, we'll just see how it all plays out. Hopefully, it'll get better sooner rather than later.
Does it worry you, the effect that it's having on the entertainment industry?
Oh, it's having a massive effect, yeah, a huge effect. It's frustrating because you kind of get back to normal, or a somewhat normal, and then, as I keep saying, the key word at the moment is uncertainty. So, but we'll get there, hopefully.
Are we lucky, though, that we are in Queensland? You're a Queensland boy, but you've been all over the world. How does Queensland rate for you to other parts of the world?
We've been lucky. We've been able to tour quite a bit. We've been to a lot of places, and Queensland's just got so many there's just a variety of things you can do here. I mean, there's snow in certain places. There's deserts and beaches and things like that. So yeah, it's a beautiful place to live. But we've been very lucky to be able to compare it to other places. We went to Moscow, I think, in 2019. It was a bank executive or something. I can't remember now. And he sent us an email and said, well, his personal assistant sent us an email and said they'd like to have us come to Moscow. And we said, have you got the right Queen show? There's a few of us around the place. And he said, no, we Googled you. That was strange because we packed jumpers. We didn't even bother looking at, whether, what the weather was like over there. And when we landed, it was so hot. It felt like we were back in Queensland. We were like, we're in St. Petersburg here. So, I like Singapore. We've been to Singapore a few times. That's a beautiful place, Singapore.
It's so clean.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, some places. Some places are just absolutely beautiful, though. We were supposed to go to Singapore. I'm actually naming the places we were supposed to go in 2020. But hopefully, we go over there, I think, once every 2 years to Singapore to do a beer festival. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to get back there soon. We love Singapore. It's great.
Just getting back to Russia, because not many people have been there. How does it differ to most places in the world that you've been to?
Well, we were only there for about 2 days. We would love to have stayed for maybe a week, but we weren't there long enough to sort of soak up much stuff. But we were on a tour bus, and there was a lady who was from the event that was basically like a tour guide, and she basically ran down some very interesting stories. We passed a pub, and she said there was when it would have been the Germans were invading.
Oh, wow.
They were invading in the dead of winter, and their tanks were running on petrol, and they all froze, like all the petrol froze or something. And the Russian tanks were running on diesel, so they didn't freeze. And this particular pub was where Hitler was going to have a victory party. And he sent out invitations for this victory party, and it never happened. And I can't remember the name of the letter. It was in German, but they named it after this letter, this victory party that never happened. So, but yeah, we didn't get a chance to really soak it up. We were very. I jokingly say we spent more time in the air than we did on the ground. So to get there, but it was beautiful.
How was the Russian audience?
It was mixed because it was a bank executive that employed us. So there was a lot of banking staff that he flew from over the world. We kind of felt like James Bond, But so there was a few Asian people, there was a few Russians. And it was a pretty mixed audience of nationalities, but mainly Russians. They were really, really good. We sent over all of our technical specs on how we want what we need, and there was only one guy that spoke like broken English, and they did a great job though. That was an amazing job. But I actually picked up a few sentences, but I've forgotten them all now. But they were mainly pretty bad though, like nasty, horrible swear words. But it was fun. It was fun.
So what's the strangest place that you've played at so far?
The strangest place. Because
Russia would probably be right up there.
Yeah. I don't know. It's probably here in Australia. I played in Macau. I did some shows with a Las Vegas company called Legends in Concert. That was kind of weird. Because I was staying in a place that had a massive Eiffel Tower. That's in Paris, isn't it? The Eiffel Tower?
Yeah.
I'm still asleep. It's terrible. And it was like 3/4 size or half the size, but everything, I can't remember the name of the hotel, but everything around the hotel that I was in, it was all themed around Paris. And everyone sort of spoke a bit of French in the place. So every time I woke up, I had to keep reminding myself, I'm actually in Macau, not France. So that was really weird. But I can't think of the strangest places we've played. It would have to. I'll think about it on the way home. It'll come to me. But I'll email you. I can't put my finger on it at the moment. But
you talk about Australia. What are some of the weird ones here that you've been to? The weird places and interesting places that you've been to.
We played out at Ayers Rock. We've played in Papua New Guinea. That was a weird gig. Yeah, we played in Papua New Guinea. That was a long time ago, and we all got diarrhea. That wasn't great. Yeah, it was an outdoor nightclub, and I think we kind of opened it, I think, and that was really weird.
What happened?
It was just really hot. It was extremely hot. In fact, I was trying to find a comfortable place that I knew I was going to pass out. I didn't want to fall down. That's it. I was literally going, yeah, I could probably pass out there because that will be okay. It won't land on any wires or guitarist pedals. But a lot of fun. We didn't drink the water, but we were drinking scotch afterwards, or bourbon or something, and the ice cubes was what got us sick. But yeah, that was a long time ago. But I can't think of any other really strange places.
Well, Uluru is an interesting place and probably the perfect place for a rock concert.
Yeah, well, we did a corporate function there, and then we got a little tour of we were able to see a little bit of the place. But yeah, it's just such a fascinating place, Uluru. It was absolutely. There's just nothing around except this massive big rock. There's nothing else quite like it in the world, I don't think. But yeah, extremely fascinating. You got me thinking about now which is the weirdest show we've ever done. Or place. It'll come to me.
Did you get to walk over the...
No. I'm not sure they still do that. I'm not sure if that's still...
No, it's closed down now.
Yeah. My friend did when he was... we were in primary school. He got photographs, and I think there was a little book at the very top of it that you could sign or something like that. We were in primary school or high school, but no, I didn't get that chance to do that. But no, we certainly took heaps of photos, and it was amazing place.
Freddie Mercury is a big part of your life. How did it all start? Getting the tribute show and realising you had the likeness?
Yeah, it was a long time ago. I was in a covers band, and we were playing a pub. We kind of had a bit of a residency there, and I was the barman at the pub as well. So what happened one night, I think this band was playing, and my boss at the time said, you should do a couple of numbers with them. And I was like, oh yeah, I could probably do that. And then anyway, I started sort of fronting them for a while. But there was just one night, I think, we were supposed to do a Halloween show, and I forgot my costume. So I borrowed a jacket, I took off my shirt, and then I think I just had some boot polish that I painted across my top lip, slicked my hair back, and I said, oh, and everyone laughed and said, my God, you that was 5 minutes and you kind of looked like him. So I started working out at Movie World, and there was a Legend show out there, and they wanted to revamp it a little bit. So I suggested that they maybe have a look at doing Freddie Mercury, and they said, well, who's going to do that? And I'll have a go. And there was me and a few other guys that actually did it as well.
They were also Freddie Mercury?
Yeah, there was a couple of others that were doing it as well. It's just because Movie World's open 7 days a week. I mean, there was several Batmans, there's several Marilyn Monroes and all that, just to obviously
because you don't think about that when you turn up. You see Batman, you see Freddie, you see all these Marvel characters.
Yeah.
But there's several of them running around.
Yes, they have to, because of the fact that it's 7 days a week, so they've got to have backups, I guess. But yeah, so I did that, and then I'm basically I really wanted to do a show where I could actually do Freddie, and it was really hard at the start to get people interested in the show. I think it's because there wasn't really any of them around. I think there was one other show that was mainly doing sort of theatres and touring around the place, that didn't offer us much competition because they weren't playing in pubs and clubs. But we just found it really hard to get into them. I think it's because venue managers kind of knew what it was, but went, well, what could we compare it to? So then I started doing. I've always done Elvis Presley impersonations as a kid. So we developed this show where we did Elvis at the front, at the start of the show. In the second half, we did Queen. I call it the King and Queen show, and and then after a while, once we were playing in the venues, people said, you should just do the Queen, because there's a lot of Elvis Presley impersonators getting around. So we stopped doing the Elvis and we did the Queen. But I didn't really want to grow a mustache, so I did the young Freddie, like circa 1970s, and then in the second half I stuck a mustache on my face and did the 80s Freddie. But the mustache kept falling off, and it was really embarrassing. I was starting to look stupid. I remember one night I was playing at Twin Towns, and it was our first time at Twin Towns. I was so nervous, and I developed this little technique because I could feel it sort of popping off. So I was getting the microphone, and I was rubbing it down on my face, and I'm thinking, this is working. It's not going to go. And then on the last try of me trying to really stick it to my face, it stuck to the microphone. So It was it was like that. It was a mustache over it. So it kind of looked like I was holding a Muppet or something, a puppet or some sorts. So after a while, I just thought, I'm going to have to grow a mustache. So we dropped the circa 70s, which I really enjoyed doing because I love those unitards that he wore. I had a whole heap of them made, and I got a special wig made. And so that's, I've answered your question the long way, but that's kind of how we got started. And then we basically just took it from there, and it just sort of, evolved into what it is today. And we've been very lucky to get the gigs that we've got around the world and all that type of stuff. So it's been great fun.
Well, let's talk about the evolution. How did it all from there get going to what it is today, the Killer Queen experience?
Well, it basically, when we first started, we really didn't know what we were doing, except for the fact that we knew that we were, the musicians and things like that I had at the time were all very good musicians, but it was just, how do we do this? Like, how do we actually make ourselves look, perform, and do the music of Queen? And everything evolves, and over time, I still think I'm learning. Like, I still look at songs and I think, I can't do that song, or I'll have a go at that song. But just with the right management, the right people to work with, it just gets to that point where all you're doing is just trying to like fine tune it all the time. Like when we finish shows, I have two of my band members that will basically come up to me and say, okay, we need to work on this song because your pitching was just a little off. And then they all just sort of micromanage the entire show. And at first it was a bit annoying because I'm like, can we just have a beer and enjoy, And they're like, no, this is... Well, two of my players, the musicians in the band, they teach piano and guitar. So they're teachers. So
they'll understand pitchy.
Yeah. It's just on some songs, I can hear myself going off on a couple of songs, not all of them, but on a couple.
Because it's big shoes to fill.
Yeah, and it's always the same song. It's Another One Bites the Dust. That's the one I sort of, I find, we do like a little solo, like a little breakdown solo in it, and I think when I'm dancing, I'm having fun with the whole thing, and I think when I come back in, I haven't really checked where my pitch was. So yeah, there's a few times, but... So I've basically said to my musicians, I'll stop dancing so I can pitch that song, right? But no, they're a great bunch of guys, and we've, like I said, we're still learning. We're still learning how to do this, and we're still trying to make the show right. I've always said I don't think we've done a show where we've all walked away going, that was perfect. We're always walking back and going, yeah, we should work on this song, we should do that, or stuff like that. So
does that mean you're professional though, that you're always trying to improve?
Yeah, I think so. I think, and I still get nervous before shows. I always get nervous, or butterflies. But I've learned now how to channel that into a positive energy. Whereas before, I get so nervous, I was like, if the venue was just to crash or there was an earthquake, that'd be great. I'd be that nervous to go out there. But I think Frank Sinatra said, if you're not nervous, you don't care. And I think I've always remembered that. So that's basically where but I'm able to channel it into something positive.
I think it's the body also preparing you for battle, as it were.
Yeah.
That you're going in and that you've got to perform.
It's like a fight. It's like a prize fight, and you know all about it.
I used to get incredibly nervous before fights.
Yeah.
And for weeks beforehand.
Yeah.
But there was always a time when it'd stop and it was game on.
Yeah. Well, I love talking to other musicians, and especially ones that have been around for a long time, and they always got scared of the adrenaline dump. They'd be that excited that they'd just get this adrenaline dump, and they'd go out, and before they'd sung a song, they were already quite tired because they were so, especially big crowds. We played in front of 17,000 people in Canberra. It was their Canberra Day public holiday, and we were very lucky to play with the Canberra 40-piece symphony orchestra.
Nice.
Yeah.
How was that?
I can't remember walking out on stage. I was so nervous. We all were, because we've never performed in front of an orchestra before. But the hardest thing was we had to rehearse during the day, and I had to sing the show 3 times. So that's like about 4 hours or something of singing. So unfortunately, by the time we'd come around, I'd sort of just blown my voice out a little bit. I was able to still sing, but there was a lovely lady there just constantly bringing me out hot ginger tea and stuff like that. So, but that was probably the disappointing thing that we had to, because I kept saying to the event organizer, I said, do I have to sing this? Do I have to do it again? And she goes, no, you have to sing it again. I'm like, oh no. But no, that was a great day, fantastic day. But yeah, I remember, I think I just levitated out on stage. It was crazy. But when you start, it's great. It's as soon as you start singing, everything's fine. But it's just for me, it's just that whole thing, a little voice in the back of your head, don't suck, don't suck when you get out there.
I think everyone does it to a degree, as you say, if you care.
Yeah, that's right. That's why we started. We had a lot of agents and managers that would say, they'd promote the show as the best in the world and he's the best. And I'd say, don't say that. I said, because you've only got to have one bad night, and people then remember that marketing slogan. Is that the best in the world, is it? You've only got to have one bad night. Or somebody else in the band has a bad night or something like that. So it is, I used to say to our managers, because they always, and some of them still do it today, the world's best and the greatest, all this stuff. And I'd say, oh, don't say that, because, that is the truth. You have a bad night and people will go, oh, yeah, they weren't that good.
Are you often performing on your own, or is it always with the band?
Always with the band, yeah. So when we do cruise ships or anything like that, it is always with the band. I've been asked for years, could you do something to backing tracks and all that type of stuff, and just not really that interested. And certainly to the people out there that do it, I mean, more power to them. I'm just saying personally, Freddie had a fairly successful solo career, but is more remembered with the blokes that were around him, because they were all fantastic characters as well, So, but no, I've never really gone down that path. I would probably feel a bit lonely up there I'd be spinning around trying to find where my guitarist is, or going over to lean into the bass player or something, and it would be hard.
What if Queen one day rang you up and said, John, Adam's sick, can you step in for the night?
Well, I'd pass out, first and foremost. Well, that would never happen, but we're hypothesising here, I guess. Look, it'd be amazing. It would be absolutely incredible. I've met them. We went to, when they came to Suncorp Stadium, I've met all of them, and they were extremely lovely. Just the most loveliest blokes I've ever met in my life. I was so nervous, I forgot Roger Taylor's name. So I went, hi. He went, and I went, oh. I just said, and it was really funny, because when I met them, I said to Adam Lambert, I said, come up the front here, and I was holding Brian and Wayne, my business partner, who's also the bass player in the band. We're all holding him like that, and Adam said, no, you go up the front there. And I said, no, you come up the front, mate. And I've got the photograph, but he's actually, he's kind of right up the back, and we were beside them, and we had a really good chat and stuff. But if they rang me, I'd be absolutely, I mean, I don't even know how to put that into words, but I'd probably decline it, because I think there'd be more hate from the Queen, because the Queen fans don't want that. They don't want that. I think they're very, very happy with Adam Lambert. I mean, some people like him and some people don't, but as I often say in this business, can't please everybody. But
how do you think he goes in front of Queen?
I like him, and I think that his voice is incredible. I mean, he has one of the most amazing voices. And certainly when he sings Who Wants to Live Forever, it's just spine-tingling. It is amazing. And everyone keeps saying, it's not as if he's trying to be Freddie. That's a given. I went to a London convention, Queen convention, a couple of years ago, and I got this asked for me, and I had to answer it in front of all these, Queenies, these Queen fans. And basically I just said, look, Freddie's dead. Unfortunately, he's passed, and Brian and the band are not. And they've got this beautiful backlog of amazing gems and beautiful songs and massive hits. It would be hard for them to sit around capable of still performing and not being able to. Adam's come along and presented them with that opportunity to do it again, and people love it. They did do it first with Paul Rodgers, and I think that's when they thought, this is great. This is great. I think they should cut an album, though. That's what I'd like to see. I'd like them to do Queen the music of Queen with Adam and do an album. That'd be cool.
Do you think they should be looking at new music?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, new music. I'd love to hear that. I think that would be great to see what they could do. Just touching on the Paul Rodgers thing, that lineup was the guitarist or rhythm guitarist they had for that was a guy called Jamie Moses. And he is also Tom Jones's guitarist. And I got to perform with him and his band, Jamie Moses and the Falcons, at one of the Queen conventions. And that was a very nerve-wracking night too. I forgot the words to Radio Gaga. I'm not painting myself a real good picture here with the nerves, am I? Yeah, I forgot the words to Radio Gaga. Not the chorus, that would be easy, but the words. And I was just like, because I was just, it was a dream come true. I'm performing at a Queen convention in front of all these, hardcore Queen fans. And I was literally looking out in the audience, holding my microphone. And then I went, uh-oh, I don't even know where I am.
Did they help you along?
Yeah, they I was looking at, I was laughing because I was like, worst nightmare to come true. I forgot the song. And I put the microphone down into the audience, and of course they brought me back to where I was supposed to be. But yeah, playing with Jamie was fantastic. It was, but we did the Paul Rodgers versions of the songs because that's the only kind of versions he knew. So that was interesting too. So another little moment I'm sort of cherish, little memory there.
What is the biggest audience that you've actually played to?
Well, the biggest audience we've played to at home in Australia was Townsville. We played at the Townsville Entertainment Centre, and we sold it out. We could not believe it. And there was, I think, 3,500 there or something like that. The biggest crowd is we played Singapore New Year's Eve at Clarke Quay. And I think we were told there was 20,000 there on the night. Just sort of, it was an extremely bizarre gig. It was 20,000 within the precinct, and they had like TVs in certain pubs and clubs in the precinct with us getting beamed live, just not on TV, but just in the precinct there. So wherever you were, you could watch it. So that was probably the biggest, I think. Yeah, we went to Norway one year, and when there was, I think, 7,000 or 8,000 there at Norway. That was a big one. It was the last time we went there. We were playing or performing with UFO. God, I can't remember half. There's a guy from the States. He's like a bluesman. His name is Bobby Rush. And there's some really, really cool big names there. So I wish I could remember them. But we played some. Again, very lucky and very grateful to be playing some really big audiences.
Who are some of the artists that you've played with, some of the big names that really are memorable moments in your career?
We played Norway one year, and there was Twisted Sister was there.
Nice.
Yeah. He wouldn't take a photo with me, unfortunately. I was over there, and a friend of mine came over, and I said, I really want to get a photograph with Dee Snider, because he was kind of my hero when I was growing up, because it was like I'd had his posters up on my wall, and my parents were just so hated it. Like, they were like, what is that? Yeah, my friend came over and he got a photograph with him because he was doing a book signing, and I couldn't get one, but he was before us. I met Jeff Beck again in Norway. We had a photograph with him. He was playing before us. It was so embarrassing that we have to go on after these, and but they were all very lovely. Yeah, we've met quite a few. We've played alongside quite a few, but they're the biggest, I guess, that stand out. So.
Dee Snider must have been, if he was a childhood, is that your only influence when you were a kid?
No, Dad, we didn't have TV. I don't think we had TV or coloured TV for a while, but we used to have this massive big record player, and it looked like furniture. It was massive, like big wooden speakers. And Dad always played Chuck Berry, Little Richard, Bo Diddley, the Platters, and the Beatles, Jerry Lee Lewis, Elvis Presley, and Mum kind of liked all the crooners, Bobby Darin, Dion, and all those type of people. So, and opera, she loved Mario Lanza, and Pavarotti, and stuff like that. So it was all that stuff sort of playing in the house. And I think as I got older, I really liked heavy metal. I loved all the big band, of course, AC/DC and Van Halen and Dio and all that type of stuff, so Black Sabbath. But I just love singers. I love Aretha Franklin, Celine Dion, and some of these people that just Celine Dion will twist and curve her body just to get notes out and doesn't care how she looks or just sing. I just admire Tom Jones and people like that. Yeah, John Farnham. All those wonderful big voices. I'm just fascinated with people. They can make so much beautiful music just by singing.
He is one of the most gifted Australian singers I think we've produced.
Yeah, he's a pom. But
close enough.
Yeah, but absolutely. I think he's lived here I think he came out here when he was a kid or something. But yeah, no, he's one of my favourites, and I've managed to see him live a couple of times. I've seen him with Tom Jones. They did a show together.
Wow. Yeah,
and Tom Jones' band, I remember reading saying, well, why can't we come along? And he said, well, I'm going to be using their band, and it's be all too much money to fly us all out, but he did, and he brought them. So Farnham's band came out, and then Tom Jones' band came out, and at the end they were all playing together. It was a phenomenal concert. It was one I will never forget. It was amazing.
Whereabouts was that?
That was at Suncorp, and I thought they would do it again the next year and maybe do them arenas, like the open air thing, but they never did. So it was a one-off, but. And it was just an incredible concert. They were doing duets together, Long Way to the Top, they did together.
Nice.
Yeah, it was great.
Now, when did you know you were going to become a singer?
I think I just wanted to be the centre of attention as a kid. I was a poser, and I was always performing shows for parents, and wherever we went, I was mimicking people, and I often say that. That's what I am. I'm a mimic, And I think it was through school, I knew that I could hold a note, and I had a music teacher that gave me lots of confidence at school, said that you can sing. You can actually hold a note and you understand the complexities of singing and breathing. I think it's because I was raised with music for so long that it didn't come naturally, but I knew how to sing, Yeah, I think after a while I just really was fascinated with looking at getting into a band, and that happened, and then it just sort of took off. But I think I actually always wanted to be a stuntman. I had this burning desire to be a stuntman because I did gymnastics as a kid. I did a bit of taekwondo, judo, and rugby league. And it was the gymnastics that really, I knew how to roll and fall. So, but I always wanted to be doing something within the limelight of showbiz. I always wanted to have, I didn't have any desires to be a tradesman or anything like that. I always wanted to be in showbiz.
When you first started, how did it all get off the ground when you went, okay, you got your first gig, you got into it and you thought, yep, this is me?
It was a band many years ago that saw me at a karaoke, and that's kind of what started. It was karaoke. It was in 88, I think it was Expo 88.
Wow, that goes back.
Yeah, I didn't go to Expo, but that's where it came out of, because I think there was a Japanese pavilion or something that had karaoke in it. So as soon as that took off, there was every pub in town, I think, had a karaoke. And he saw me, this particular guy saw me. He had a show called Legends, I think, or something like that. And they basically just they didn't dress up, but they just tributed but Bill Haley, and they went through the era of rock and roll and eras of rock and roll. And he saw me and he said, I'd really like you to do it. We do an Elvis thing in our show. We'd really like you to do it. And I was like, I don't even have a costume, And my mum put together a costume for me.
Good on your mum.
Yeah. And I still remember, it was all white, and I had like a big macrame belt. And
so the young Elvis.
Yeah, it was like the only thing we could sort of make that would look okay was the outfit that he wore in Blue Hawaii when I think he was getting married or something. So I wore that, and I got special white boots made because you couldn't buy white boots back then. Or you probably could, but they were being... So anyway, I did this show, and I was, I think I was maybe 22 or 23 or something, and I fronted the band. We did a couple of shows together. Yeah, that was really cool. That was when I went, that's it. That's what I want to do now. I got bitten by the audience bug and the applause and things like that. And I actually was a plumber for a while. I was working for my uncle, and I served about 3 years of it, and I had enough. I can't do it anymore. I'm sick of that. And someone said, well, you should have done it, and at least you have a trade. And I was like, yeah, you're right. But I said, every time I install a new vanity or a toilet, it's just no applause. So
So you live for the applause still?
Yeah, I look at adulation. We all enjoy it, and it's standing ovations and things like that are really nice to get, and it's just a great way to be recognised for, there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. The hardest thing is doing shows when you don't feel like it. You've had a bad week, or you've had a bad month, or a bad year, and you're tired, or you might be a little bit depressed or something. So I love talking to other. I got a few friends, I won't name them, but I've got a few other friends that work within the business that have been my idols, and that I often ring and sort of ask them questions and things like that. But yeah, it's hard because certainly in a tribute show, you've got to bounce out on stage and be everybody's favourite ABBA show, or everyone's favourite Freddie Mercury, or everyone's favourite Elvis. And you might not want to be doing that because you're depressed or tired or whatever it may be. So that would probably be the hardest part. I've realised that in the last couple of months, where I haven't had a great couple of years in the last years for personal reasons and health reasons. But yeah, that's very hard because people have paid their money. They don't care what type of day you had, you know what I mean? And they don't know anyway. I don't know what your question was, but
how forgiving are audiences?
Pretty forgiving, I think. Yeah, I think I don't think it really matters who you are. I think most audiences understand that if you have had a bad night or anything like that.
Do you tell them if you're not having a great night?
I used to say to people, I've got a cold, everybody, I'm going to do my best to get through this. Years and years ago, I used to say, if I just wanted to be honest, and I figure if that's not a good idea either, just don't tell anybody anything. Just, maybe after the show you can say, I'm so glad I got through that because I've had a cold for the last week or so. But yeah, I used to let people know at the very start of the show, look, I've got a cold, and people be, oh, great. I've just paid $40, $50 or whatever it is to watch some bloke with a cold. So that was one lesson I learned. Never tell anybody unless it's really bad. But, there's no days off in our industry. There's no days off. You can't... Wayne Vitale, my bass player, has had a major surgery at the moment, and he's just said it's really weird watching you guys go out and do shows because I would normally, rain, hail or shine, even if you're half dead.
What do you do for bass?
We've got a bass player. His name's Brad Poole. He's been with us for I don't know, about 6 years now. There was a time when we were doing cruise ships and things like that where Wayne couldn't go. He had a young family, and so Brad's just been amazing. He's just slots in perfectly, and he actually looks a little bit like John Deacon too, which is handy because it would look weird if we had to employ somebody who had a beard or was obese or whatever it may be. So yeah, he fits in absolutely perfectly. So we're lucky.
When you're actually going away, is it tough to be away from the family when you are away and doing a lot of touring?
I think when the family, well, certainly my family, when the kids were young, my partner would have to, don a cape and turn into a superwoman to look after all the children, and it's a lot of hard work. So yeah, it does affect, especially. Well, in 2019, I think we did close to 102 shows or something like that, and we were away a lot. I think some of the wives of the of the guys who are in the band were happy that their husbands were away that far. I'm kidding. But with the family, with the children being young, it's hard on the wives because it's a lot of work. Washing, cooking, getting them off to school, getting them picked up, bathing them, taking all that type of stuff is so. But I call them rock and roll widows. That's what they are. So. Well,
they do it tough if they can't come with you and can't bring the kids.
Yeah, on occasions we've been able to bring partners and the children. I did it once. We do shows up in Cairns. Bruce is the guy up there who's been looking after us for many, many years. We've become very good friends with Bruce, and he puts us up in the casino. And we all said to him, "Can we bring our partners?" And he's like, "Yeah, of course." So it was the first time my children have ever been on a plane. So when we flew up there, so I was eagerly watching them in the seats to see how they would cope with the flight. And they were loving it. So that was great.
How do they like the fact that what Dad does, that he's a Freddie Mercury impersonator and mimic?
Well, when I was little, I would often have Freddie playing. I'm just listening all the time, listening for little things that he does with his voice, and so it was always kind of, not all the time, but it was kind of playing. And I would try and play a video a video would be playing before I would go and do the show. So I'd be packing my clothes and I'd be listening and watching just to get in, get the vibe. But they were growing up with that too. So there's lots of little videos of my children when they were babies singing "I Want to Break Free" and and things like that. And they did tell their teachers that my daddy is Freddie Mercury, and I had to say that I play Freddie Mercury, kids. I'm not Freddie Mercury. So, but it was good though, because every time they told them that, the parents would have to get a hold of me and ask, can we do shows at the school, fetes and things like that. So it worked out well.
Parent-teacher night must have been interesting.
I've been to one, and everyone was just wanted to ask me things about the show and when can we catch a show and things like that. So,
what's the most interesting question and most often asked question that you get?
Are you gay? All the time.
Really?
Yeah. Is he gay? So,
do you get offended by that?
No, I just say I'm not, but my boyfriend is. So, it's
Boom.
no, it's pretty much the main answer, the main question. Is he gay? Whenever I go out and meet people, I mean, we've been doing this for a while now, so people know that I'm not. And as Seinfeld would say, there's not that there's anything wrong with that. But no, it was probably the most question. And I never gave I let people work it out. I'd never say no or yes. I just let them work it out. It is funny though when women. After shows, I go out and do a little meet and greet, think that I am, and they do things like, can you please grab my breasts? Is it all right if I do this? And if I can, we do it. I'm like, that's fine, because they think I'm gay. But that would be the most often asked question, yeah.
That's an interesting thing, though, with that sort of notoriety that you're playing into.
Mm.
How does your wife think about that, or your partner?
Oh, look... They've always been very good at it. It's just they know what we do, and it's just an act. I mean, we are there to just mimic Freddie on stage perfectly. I did do a documentary on Freddie in London for ITV1, and I had to think about whether could I show it to my little ones, because I had to snog a lot of blokes, and it went right into sort of Freddie's private life and all that type of stuff, and in the end I thought, no, they're going to watch it, so they've watched it and they were good with it. So
because I wanted to talk to you about the ITV documentary. So it was a really big thing for you to get the gig.
It was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing. I got an email. There was an agent in London that put me forward for it, and he said, here's his email, and they said, it's ITV1 Channel 5, we'd like to do a Skype thing with you. And we did the interview, and I hadn't been working for a couple of months, so I kind of had a bit of a beard. And anyway,
very un-Freddie.
Yeah, well, he had a beard in some of his film clips towards the later part of his life. And we did the interview, and they said, we're going to do another one tomorrow. Can you shave the beard off and kind of look like Freddie? And we're going to get you to do some lines from the film. So we did that, and they said, we'll be in touch. And I had to do a cruise ship for 2 weeks, and I said to them, there's pretty much no Wi-Fi out there, so if I've got the part, you're going to have to get back to me pretty quickly, and you'll have to contact my manager, which I thought sounded like I was a bit pompous, but the manager is not my personal manager, it was the manager that looked after the band at the time. Anyway, I did the cruise, come back, it was as we were coming into Sydney, I had reception, and I had like 16 missed phone calls, and it was my manager at the time. And he said, you've got the part, and you've got to fly out at a certain time. And I was just, wow, this is crazy. I've never been to London before. And it was 2 weeks. We shot it in 2 weeks. And I was pretty excited to find out that I've got a mention on Freddie Mercury's Wikipedia page. So that was pretty cool. It just says John Blunt was the first person to portray Freddie on film in the Who Wants to Live Forever film. But it was an incredible time. It was really hard work. I had an old black cab waiting for me every morning, pull up outside my little flat that I was staying in at 7 o'clock. It would pull up, and I'd get home some nights at 8 o'clock. They were long shoots. I distinctly remember I was sitting in the makeup chair, and they were putting on a beard for a particular shot. So there was 2 makeup ladies, and they were putting on the beard either side of me, and I fell asleep. I literally just fell asleep, and I can't do that. I don't fall asleep sitting up. I've got to be laying down or reclined. And then I thought, I'm really tired. I'm really, really tired. So
2 weeks is pretty quick to shoot a documentary.
Yeah, it was really quick. In fact, they said they might need me for another week because there was a few other things that they wanted to pick up on, and they wanted to do more scenes and really montage certain parts of the film. So I had to ring my partner at the time and say, look, I think I'm going to be back. I might be here for another week. And she's like, that's fine. And they didn't do it. They just said, oh, look, I think we'll be fine with what we've got. So, yeah, not everybody liked it, but it was 2 weeks.
Why not?
Oh, look, there was a bit of flack about how it went into too much of his private life and probably shouldn't have gone into that area of his life. But it's pretty well known. Freddie lived like, I often say, like an Egyptian pharaoh. He became quite rich quite quickly. I think the money started rolling in after Bohemian Rhapsody, the movie, the song, and some of these songs, the royalties on them would be incredible, and they had heaps of them, so they're pretty rich. So I think everyone knew, but I think there was a bit of backlash that said, oh, they shouldn't have done this. And not to me as such.
How should they have done the documentary then?
Look, the documentary is a documentary. It's not a movie. It's based on things that have been written about him in books, dear friends, and that's basically what they did. They interviewed his bodyguard and close friends, and I basically just reenacted their stories, kind of, and moments. So I don't know how they would have done it without talking about him, how he died. And they were very hard scenes to play. The death scene was certainly an extremely, very, very tough to play. And I was actually, funny enough, I went over there and I developed, it was just really cold. I'm a Queenslander. I was not ready for that. And I actually had so many layers of clothes on. and I bought this leather jacket. And I remember getting home one afternoon and I thought, I'm getting sick because all my body's aching. My body's really sore. It's just that my puny little arms were lifting up so many layers. Like the leather jacket itself was quite heavy, but that's what it was. It was just moving my arms was like, I'm getting a workout here, So, but anyway, I got quite ill. So when I was playing, portraying Freddie in his final days, I was actually crook. So it kind of enhanced the performance, I guess. But they were very tough scenes because I was even thinking, I don't really want to do this, I don't really want to do this.
Would you like to be known as an actor or a singer?
Just an entertainer. That would be, my acting's okay, my singing's okay. I've been making a living from it for, most of my adult life now, and that's what I put on my passport, entertainer. I was very lucky enough, as we're talking about acting, to be in a movie that'll be coming out, I think, this year or next year, with a very good friend of mine who does Elton John. His name is Greg Andrew. And we were cast as Freddie and Elton in the movie. So we're very, very excited about that. We were just extras. And throughout the shoot, the producers were talking to each other and said, well, why don't we just give them a bit of dialogue? So we were like, yes. So it will be coming out in, apparently it's in Christmas, over the Christmas break. It's a romantic comedy.
Name of the movie?
Seriously Red.
Shot at Movie World?
No. It was shot on location in Mullumbimby, and then there was some stuff at Twin Towns. So that was really cool because when we were shooting it, my posters were all over the place, and they were like, and a lot of the other extras were like, "Is this for the movie? Like, is this all these posters around?" I said, "No, I'm playing here," and they went, "Yeah, but that's gonna be shown in the movie, right?" I'm like, no, that's just the posters for me when I'm coming here. So that'll be Jack Thompson's in the movie, so it's going to be pretty
cool. An Australian legend. How was it working with him?
Very sadly, I never got to meet him. It was just happened to be on the day that I wasn't there on set, so that was. But I got to work with Rose Byrne. Celeste Barber was in the movie too, and there's Bob Down. Not sure if you know him. He was very
great comedian.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah. I had an awkward moment with him. I said, "Bob Down," and as he was walking past me, and he goes, "My God, you look like Freddie Mercury." And I said, "Oh, it's an occupational hazard." And I said, "You're one of my heroes. I've been watching you since I was a kid." And he goes, "Really? A kid?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, oh, now I feel really old, or something like that. And I was like, I probably shouldn't have said that. But there was a lot of wonderful people on set. So
Do you get recognised very often?
yeah, always. Someone, I'll be getting groceries or petrol or going out shopping or whatever it may be, or sitting at the pub. I've got my friend here today with me, my chaperone. Is sitting over in the corner there. We'll go up to the pub. There's a local Irish pub from where I live, and everyone will say, has anyone ever told you you look like Freddie Mercury? And I go, yep.
I wish I had $1 for everyone every time that someone said it.
Oh, constantly. And not everyone are kind. They'll often say, look at old mate, thinks he's Freddie Mercury. If I hear those comments, I often say to people, I actually am in a Queen show. Yes, I'm in a Queen show. That's why this is all happening. And they go, oh, okay. But like I said, not everyone's kind. We are in Australia.
Because it is a pretty impressive neighbourhood. I hear that also Joe Bugner is also used to live just down the road.
He did. That was there was a stage in my life where I thought, I'm going to get fit. I want to get fit for the show. I have got a lung disease called sarcoidosis, so it does sort of rob me of breath and energy. So anyway, I started jogging, hated it. I'm not a jogger. And I was jogging past his house, which is just at in my street, and he was just hosing the garden, and I've sort of gone, my God, that's Joe Bugner.
So you understand what it's like when someone goes, that's Freddie Mercury.
Yeah. So I just went, now I've got to jog past him tomorrow. Now I have to jog past his house every day now, so to see if it is him. Sure enough, I was jogging past at the same time, and he was watering the garden. So I thought, he's one of my heroes. So I went home and I Googled Joe and Marlena, his wife. Everything came up about them, and she liked champagne. So I thought, I'm going to go and get some champagne. I took my little girl with me, as I said off air. I didn't want him to have a Joe Frazier flashback or something and kill me. Anyway, I knocked on the door and I said, Marlena's yelled out, who is it? And I said, Marlena, it's John Blunt. I live up the road. And that week I was actually on the front page of our local rag because I'd just come back from France for a lookalike competition. I went, if you have a look at the local paper, I'm on the front, and I just live up the road. I'm the neighbourhood Freddie Mercury. I was so nervous because she goes, okay. She probably thought mental. I've got a stalker here or something. Anyway, she said, okay. I said, I just wanted to meet Joe. Anyway, he's come out. I'll be right out there, old son. And he's walked out, and I've got my little girl on my side. I had a bottle of champagne. He couldn't have been more nicer. He came in, and when he fought Joe Frazier over in Malaysia, they took Muhammad's glove and his glove, and they dipped him in lead, and he had this beautiful big box. He said, have a look at that. I was holding it. He brought out his heavyweight champion belt, and she was showing me all the photos. She worked for Robert Murdoch. She was a journalist, and she was great friends with the Rat Pack, and she'd met Freddie, and she showed me the photograph of her and Freddie, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And my partner at the time was ringing me. I'd paid for a pay-per-view UFC fight to watch, and she's like, you're missing it. I said, I know. I'm in Joe's house. And I remember her saying at the time, she's like, they're going to call the cops. They're going to think you're too weird. And I was like, no, it's all good. They're offering me food and beverages. It's fine. And so we became very, very close friends. I did a show at Kedron and Wavell, and I rang Joe and Marlena, and I said, I'd like to bring you along. And I hired a limo. It wasn't expensive, but it was a limo. And he sent back a text, I think, of the week of the show, and said, Marlena can't come. I'd like to bring my neighbour. And fortunately, it was Alan. And he turned up with Joe, and Alan and I have been friends ever since. And Joe's been a very close friend ever since. So I'd always announce him when he'd walk through the door, when we'd go over for beers or barbecues, and as soon as he walked through the door, I'd say, ladies and gentlemen, the heavyweight champion of the world, Joe Bugner. And he'd walk over and slap me and go, undefeated heavyweight champion, undefeated. And I go, okay, I'll get that right for the next entrance. But it was funny because I was saying to Alan, he'd walk in, and as soon as I started doing this over-the-top, melodramatic, ladies and gentlemen, you could see him sort of, he changed his posture a little bit. I think he was so used to hearing that ring announcers doing it, and I did it extremely well. But great. Joe's been a great friend, great guy.
So you're a bit of a fight fan?
Always, yeah. Pugilist, I call myself. That through Dad. Dad raised us on Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan movies. But Dad was a huge fight fan, so it was always, and I think doing martial arts at a very early age and judo and things like that, just fascinated with it. For me, it's boxing, the sweet science, and it really is physical chess. You know?
It certainly is.
And you know better than anybody that you've got to land punches on your opponent while they're landing on you. So there's a lot of it's chess. It's whoever makes the first move here is going to have a checkmate, you know. Yeah, so yeah, Dad was really loving. Dad was in the army for 9 years, so he was very, very physical and fit growing up. Still is. He's in his 80s now, but I met Jackie Chan. I was in
No.
Yeah, I was working at Myers in the city. And he did his very first show in the Valley, Fortitude Valley. I think it was called Rumble in the Bronx. I can't remember exactly. But my first Taekwondo teacher, Brett Arthur was his name. He was 6'6", and he was one of the most incredible physical specimens I've ever seen. He was just absolute. I just wanted to be him, my first Taekwondo. Sadly, he passed, and he was with him. I think he was with him on the day. I was like, Brett. And he's like, hey, John. And he said, do you want to meet Jackie Chan? I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, he's in the sports section. He was getting wristbands or something like that. I'm like, oh, my God. And he goes, yeah, he's there. Nobody knew who he was. I said to all of my co-workers, Jackie Chan's here. And they went, who's she? I went, it's Jackie Chan. And they went, I know who you're talking about. No one knew, because he wasn't that big here. But we were raised, Dad was VHS, all the old Drunken Monkey and all these old fighting, you know. So anyway, he's come past, and he had a little bit of security around him, not much.
He wouldn't need it.
No, he wouldn't need it, no. But I think his wife was with him, and anyway, I was trying to find a bit of paper. Do you think I could find a bit of paper? Nothing around. And there was this like ribbed bit of cardboard. And I felt like a tool. I went up and I said, Jackie, can you sign that? And he signed it. And he said, love you, God bless, Jackie Chan. And he put underneath, he drew a fist underneath it. All that on this ribbed, bit of cardboard. And I had that for years and years and years, and I moved so many times when I was younger. I've lost it now, but yeah. So I met him.
Nice guy.
Lovely, absolutely lovely. Because I was asking him questions, and he was getting moved on. Like no one knew who he was. Nobody knew. So I'm like, this is great. I'm looking around. Everyone thinks I'm just talking to some Asian guy. And I was asking him questions because he was on Enter the Dragon. He was an extra on Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. And I read somewhere way back that it was the fight scene where I think Bruce had nunchucks. Or I think he got hit with a staff or something, and it broke, and he picked up the broken pieces of the staff. And he was bodies were just coming at him, and he clipped Jackie Chan pretty badly across the back of the head. And I was asking him about that, and he said, wow, how did you know that? I said, oh, I've read stuff, and he goes, yeah, he did. Yeah, he clipped me, and then I sort of went down. They pulled up the cut, and he said, Bruce, come over to me, and he was like, you okay? And he said he really milked it. He was like, oh, it's a bit sore. He said Bruce was holding him, I'm so sorry. And he was like, yeah, it's a little bit sore. He said he was really milking it, but I could have talked to him for hours and hours, and then he kind of got the, come on, we've got to go now. But
Security.
Yeah. Well, no, pulling. Sort of said, come on, we've got to go. But no, yeah, it was amazing. Great, lovely man, beautiful man, yeah.
Who's your favourite fighter these days?
Conor McGregor. I like him. Yeah. Only because he exploded onto the scene with so much personality, so much confidence. He just stood out. He was a polarizing sort of figure.
He is a polarizer, and the Russian that is
Khabib.
Yes.
Yeah.
Khabib really brought him out, and then Conor sort of said, hey, mate, it's just a show.
Yeah.
And it just
Too late,
really-
though, unfortunately. It was
a
personal.
it was a little bit late, and it did get personal. But it's interesting to know behind the scenes how much is show and how much is blow.
Well, I think the mistake he probably made was making fun of their religion. I think they made fun of his religion. And I know he made fun of his father.
Well, that's also probably a no-no as well. So.
Yeah. However, when his father passed, he said some beautiful words and wonderful accolades and things like that. But as they all say, you got to sell tickets, and that's what he's doing. He's selling. Look at Muhammad Ali. I mean, Muhammad Ali did the same thing, calling Joe Frazier a gorilla and Frankenstein, all that type of stuff. Yeah, I think he just maybe went a little bit too far at that point. But everybody basically knows who he is, But I do love Israel Adesanya as well. I think he's
the style bender.
Yeah.
Though the foray into the light heavyweight ranks hasn't been too successful.
Yeah, I saw his last fight with the Polish fella. Can't pronounce his name. He certainly held his own. He didn't embarrass himself.
Do you think it was the fact that he didn't try and gain weight?
But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was quicker. But he can take a punch. Like he's got a good chin. Like he was. I would not like to be hit. I don't want to be hit by anybody, but I would not like to be hit by that Polish guy. It'd be like getting hit by a car.
So, as far as training these days, are you still doing any martial arts?
I've just started getting back into it. I've started to. I've got a boxing bag in my living room. It can move. You can box and it moves.
Oh, yep.
It's got a big sand thing on it. Yeah. Anyway. But I eventually want to get a speed ball, and I want to get a full length punching bag, as well as the shaped, the head and the torso.
Yep.
I'm going to get those. I'm slowly getting back into it. It's just because I don't like jogging and I don't like walking.
Skipping?
I suck at it. I've just gone and bought it. I just went and got a skipping rope, a proper one. And the next morning, it was so embarrassing. My knees were sore, and I'm like, I'm getting old. But I have never been good at that. Never. I see those other guys, and they're skipping and all that type of stuff. I'm like, how do they do that?
How fit do you need to be for the shows that you're doing?
Oh, it's cardio. It's basically cardio. And I realised the lung condition got worse in 2019 with the amount of shows that I was doing. And I'm on prednisone, and it retains fluid. Well, it's a steroid, but as soon as I take it, I've asked the doctor if I could go on a lower milligram, because I was on 25 milligrams and it's just like a battery goes off. You just whoa. But it puts on weight. I was 85 kilograms last year. I'm 80 now, 81 I think. But it's mainly cardio. You've got to. Singing's great for lung disease, though. It's great, and it's really good to be able to. My old singing coach taught me how to breathe properly and push notes through with your diaphragm and stuff. We're getting old. We're all getting older, so you've got to. I think Sylvester Stallone. I follow him on Instagram. He always says, "Health is wealth." So but I've got to train because of the lung disease. I've got to make sure that I'm always moving, and swimming's good. I've got a pool, and I try to get into that as often as I can. The only problem is I'm a real scaredy cat when it comes to cold water. I won't go in there. It's going to be really hot.
Like you say, you're a Queenslander.
Absolutely. I'm actually looking at trying to get my pool heated so I can sort of swim in it all year round. But that'd be nice just to get into it. It's like a nice warm bath, and that's how it has to be, is like a bath.
When you are training and you are doing these things, are there performance-specific exercises that you do, because you need to be flexible and those sort of things? You said you did gymnastics.
Yeah.
Has that helped with
It
the
does.
Freddie show?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he does. Well, I think Freddie kind of morphed ballet with boxing, because he did box as a kid, and there's pirouettes and there's punches and there's left hooks and jabs, and he's doing it, and then there's pirouettes and all those types of things. So, I basically do a couple of push-ups, and I do all my stretches that I've done in gymnastics and in Taekwondo. It's mainly hamstrings and stuff like that. Very embarrassing thing happened when I was out at Movie World. I was doing Elvis, and I was doing Burning Love, I think the song was, and I was doing this thing that he would do, and I pulled a hamstring. It was the most embarrassing thing, and it was weird. I
shouldn't laugh.
Well, it was so weird because I've never ever done it. Of all the sport that I've done as a kid, I've never done it before, and it felt like someone had stabbed me. And
you did it properly.
Yeah, it felt like someone had stabbed me, and blood was coming out. Because I could feel trickles, and I'd scare the hell out of me.
Yeah.
But it felt like a stab and then blood dripping out. And because I actually looked around, I thought someone has stabbed me.
Wow. Wow.
And that took ages to heal. Ages.
Wow.
So now I always just general stretching, bending over, and all that type of stuff.
Because of your martial arts background and wanting to be a stuntman, how did that fall by the wayside?
When I was in grade 10, my what do they call it? Counsellor, or no, not a counsellor. The people that
Guidance counselor.
Yeah, I think it was something like that. They were asking. We did this thing where we were put into work experience from school, and they said, "What would you like to do?" And I went, "Stuntman." And they went, "I don't think we'll be able to put you into any work experience." But they tried very, very hard. And back then there was nothing around. Anyway, they ended up They said, "Look, we can't get you work experience as a stuntman, but would you like to go and see where commercials are made, like where they piece together commercials, radio ads, and all that type of stuff?" And it was a place out at I think it was Milton. I can't remember now. And yeah, they had very similar to this. And they had a few of these little rooms, big ones, smaller ones, and all the rest of it. And I said, yeah, I'd like to do that. So I went out there, and I was there for every Tuesday for, I think it was for a month or so. Oh, no, probably for the whole year, I think, yeah. And I got to see how television commercials, and I met Jamie Dunn, and I met all the radio announcers on the day. And so that was really cool. That was again, getting slightly bitten along the way, the bug to do this thing called showbiz.
I did my work experience at the old 4BK.
Okay, yeah.
In the newsroom.
Okay.
Loved it, and that fueled me.
Boy George come out there too. I think he came to 4KQ. Is that the zipper? Was that the logo was a zipper or coming up on?
No, that was 4IP.
Oh, he's 4IP. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. That's a long time ago.
Far too long ago. I want to get onto the Legends.
Yes.
And the Legends tour that you did in the States.
They came to Australia. They come out here all the time, once a year to Melbourne, and they do the Crown Casino for 2 weeks, and they needed a Freddie. And they seen me on YouTube, and they rang me and said, would you be interested? And I just said yes, because I remember seeing way back when the Mike Walsh show.
Now you're dating yourself.
Yeah, the Mike Walsh show. He had them on his show.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing as a kid going, wow, I think they had a Neil Diamond and an Elvis, and they may have had a Dolly Parton. I can't remember, but I just remember going, wow, and they were called Legends in Concert. So of course, when I got the call, I said, absolutely, I'd love to do that. So I did 2 weeks in Melbourne. We went to Macau, and then in late 2019, they asked would I come to Connecticut, and I lived there for 5 weeks, and we did a show every single day, and two for Tuesday, and it was very intimidating. That the Americans certainly know how to put on a show. It's a fantastic show. The whole thing just runs like a beautiful machine, and it's just incredible, and everyone's lovely and very supportive, and the acts it was very intimidating. They are amazing. They are next class, next level. And there was a girl out there who did Cher, and I'm a massive Cher fan. Again, singers. I would sit in the wings the whole show, every show. I'd just sit in the wings like a little kid, just watching them. It was just magic. And the funny thing is, when you're working, I was working with a Stevie Wonder guy who was, I just can't even find the words. It's simply amazing. Cher and Elvis, Stevie Wonder. There was a Dolly Parton, and there was a Donna Summer. When I came back to Australia, my brain had somehow morphed into I was working with the real ones, because I was there for a month working with these people. So I've often said, I've worked with Stevie Wonder. No, I mean, they look like them, they sound like them. So yeah, it was amazing. But it's the best thing that come out of that is that their friendships. I'm still friends with them today, and we're always communicating through social media. So it's I think that's the loveliest thing that comes out of this industry. It's just all the people you meet and the friends that you make along the way.
What about the egos that you do find along the way? Is that something that you've had to deal with?
Yes, I have. Look, egos are fine as long as you can back it up. If you can't back it up, you are always going to get more jeers than cheers. Ego is confidence, and you need that ego to be able to perform in front of people. But you got to keep it in check. I think when I was younger, I had a bit of an ego when I was working around the traps. I thought I was the duck's nuts. But it is watching other people do it way better than you, and you go, okay, I'm not that good. But it was a long time ago. I mean, now, like I said, I'm still learning, and I'm still open to anyone's suggestions on what I should be not doing or doing. But there's a lot of people with egos in anything, you know. But you've just got to back it up. That's all.
Who's your favourite artist that is impersonated?
There's a few. Of me that I've impersonated?
Yeah, both.
I used to do perform...
Because you were doing Elvis and Roy Orbison?
Yeah, I love Roy Orbison's voice. I absolutely love his voice, and something that I've always enjoyed and miss. I think if I was to stop doing the Freddie Mercury thing, I would definitely go back to doing... Roy Orbison. I wouldn't do the whole dress-up thing. I would like to just be myself and talk about the music and how the songs affected me and when they were written and what year and things like that. I really love, Roy Orbison's incredibly sad life, but one of my favourites to impersonate. Yeah.
Is that like that looking through a glass onion sort of style that...
John Waters.
Yeah, that you'd be looking at to try and do something?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Somewhere down the track. I've seen John Waters'... I've seen it twice and absolutely blown away. It was one of the... It was so moving. I won't talk about it because I think he's touring it again. I don't want to give anything away. But there was just a couple of moments where I was with my friend and we were just like, whoa! What happened? You know, that was just these really cool things throughout. Simple things that he's done with lighting and movement and just, if he is doing it again, I heard he was doing it, you have to see that show. It was just incredible. And what a talent.
What's the show that you have on your list that you need to see before you hang up the performer's moniker?
It's funny. I just took my kids to Shrek, the musical, and it blew my mind.
Really?
It blew my mind. I thought... They love Shrek. They watch the movie, and as they're getting older, they still love Shrek. So when we sat down in the theatre, I kind of thought, I'll get through this. The kids are going to love it. I'm going to be a hero. You know, this is what they want to see. And I was like, oh my God, it's the gingerbread man. I'm like, yes. You know, I'm like, gee, I was right into it. And the performances are just perfection. In fact, Todd McKenney is in it. He needs some sort of an award for his performance. It is, and again, I won't give anything away because I think it's still going. But that was a masterclass in performancing. It was performance. Is that a word? Performancing. He was just absolutely fantastic, brilliant, and I just had the best time. In fact, when it was an interval, I just didn't want to leave. I was like, I want to sit here in case I miss something. You know, when they come back out. But to bucket list show, I'd like to see Phantom of the Opera. I haven't seen that.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I can't think of any at the moment. That would definitely be the one I'd really like to see. I wanted to see Celine Dion in Las Vegas. I didn't get to see that. But I think we've seen most. I haven't been to a lot of concerts, but the ones that I have kind of ticked off the bucket list. Elton John, I went and saw. As we said earlier, Tom Jones and Farnham and Queen with Adam Lambert. So my bass player Wayne has actually seen the original lineup. He saw them in Sydney. So he witnessed Freddie Mercury, so that's pretty cool. We always sort of envy him for that. But I don't think there's too many that I'd have to have a look at, see what there is to offer before I do the bucket list thing.
How do Queen fans react to you?
Oh, I think Queen fans just enjoy the fact that they can go out and watch and listen to a Queen show in the style of how it's nostalgia. So that was the music they were brought up. It's the soundtrack of their lives, and Freddie out the front, I think, is something they enjoy. I get a lot of people wanting to talk to me about the documentary and Yeah, I've always been treated really, really well. Like it's always. I've often said the Queen fans are the best fans in the world. They're just.
Are they different around the world?
They all have the same love for the band and Freddie, and the conversations are pretty close, and it's just wonderful. Freddie used to call them the royal family, because a lot of these fans would be front and center, all on their tours. On all their tours, if they went to Amsterdam or wherever, they'd be so they call them the royal family. But I think that's affectionately being called. They're all the royal family now. But yeah, I think they're. When I went to London, to the UK for those two Queen conventions, once the first time I went there, I was a guest, and the second time I went there to perform, I felt as though I was meeting old friends that I hadn't seen for a while. I'd never met these people, but it felt like old friends or family. It was really, it was a bit emotional too, because it was senses overload, because the entire Queen convention it goes for a week, and they're just constantly, when you walk in the room, it's constantly, there's Queen videos and Queen memorabilia and there's Queen songs, and I've met a lot of Freddie's friends, and I've met a lot of the people that he's worked with over the years, so I just feel as though these are all we're just friends, you know.
What's the hardest thing about when you are doing Freddie? What's the hardest part? I know you've got to put the teeth in.
That was something I come up with when I was working at Movie World, because I used to do Austin Powers, and I used to have these. So it was the very first thing I did, just to top off the look. That was difficult for the first couple of weeks with the teeth in, because it was certainly hard to talk in. Easy to sing with them because your mouth's generally open and stuff like that. That would be probably the hardest thing. And I think you got to know your strengths and your weaknesses as a performer.
What's your strength?
I think rock and roll. I love singing rock and roll, because I love Roy Orbison too. I love singing the ballads. But I think my strength is probably rock and roll. I've often said to sing rock and roll, you have to have a little bit of rock and roll inside you. And I think what that means is, if you have a look at the greats, they will be performing with gusto and heart. If they're tired, if they're hungover, or if they've got a bit of heartache, they will still go out there and deliver the performance, and that's rock and roll, you know. So I think that's probably, I'd like to think that's my strength. I really enjoy singing, heart moving, powerful rock and roll songs.
Would you like to be known more as John Blunt rather than Freddie Mercury?
Yeah, of course. I know who I am, and I think I've got a really good circle of friends. I'm always they always make fun of me and put me in my place and stuff like that. So all my friends, like I said, I've got a very, 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 very good circle of friends, have only known me as John Blunt. You know, they know that the Freddie Mercury thing is just something I do, and, you know, I do get called the Freddie Mercury guy. Like, there's a few people. Have you seen that Freddie Mercury guy? And they go, oh, well, this because there's a few around. John Blunt, yeah, the Freddie Mercury guy. You know, so that comes up a bit, but that's okay. That's fine.
But you're doing a good thing, putting your God-given talents to use, and you're to be congratulated for that.
Oh, thank you, mate. Look, it's nice to be important, but it's important to be nice. And I just love it when we finish shows and you go out and talk to people, and everyone's laughing and happy, and it's such a horrible year that we went through in 2020, and it's nice to be able to just make people happy, and that's what music does, and film and things like that. We're in the business of making people happy.
So just want to wrap up with finding out, I know there's the COVID problem, but where are you planning to be over the next couple of months or throughout 2021?
Well, funny thing is, myself and Wayne, we decided that in 2020 we'd like to do more of, I guess, grassroots gigs, like all the places that we first started out. It was like not like a giving back. That sounds a bit wanky, but just like because we'd done the theatre thing, and I was really burnt out. We played every theatre in Australia, and I just got a bit burnt out. And I love the theatres, but sometimes they can be a little bit sterile because everyone's sitting down. The crowds are great. The crowds are absolutely unbelievable, but there's nothing quite like playing a pub gig where everyone's just going crazy and having a great time and things like that. So we said, look, let's just do that. Let's just do that. Let's just do local shows, few in Sydney, maybe a couple in Melbourne. And when the COVID thing kicked in, we were like, we've made the best decision. Like, what a stroke of genius, you know, because there's borders being closed, and we've got all these shows locally, and then everything shut down. So anyway, we this year we are basically, that's what we're doing. We're doing a lot of pubs and clubs, And we'll be doing some bigger venues in Sydney and things like that. But it'll be interesting, as we've said at this first part of the interview, what happens in the next couple of months. With vaccines rolling out and things like that, you'd hope that things might return to a more normal.
If someone wants to find out about where you are, what do they do?
We have a website. It's just killerqueenexperience.com. We are on Facebook, and I have a Twitter account. We've got an Instagram account, but mainly the website's the best place to go. The email goes straight to Wayne, but killerqueenexperience.com.
John Blunt, thanks for joining us over the bonnet.
Mate, thank you very much, and thank you for having me. It's been wonderful, and looking forward to going and checking out this boxing ring that you're at the backyard. That'll be great.
Let's do it.
All right, mate, thank you.
This podcast is brought to you by Gympie Central Medical Centre. GMed is your local medical practice in Gympie, specialising in quality family medical care. Are you always sick, ranging from acute medical issues to management of long-term chronic conditions? When you need to get better, even if you have complex health problems, get the diagnosis right with Gympie Central Medical Centre. Contact them in Gympie on 54811 873, or you can find them at 35 Excelsior Road. The podcast is also brought to you by Gympie Foam and Rubber, your local store that specialises in foam cut to size. They've got all sorts of good stuff like upholstery and craft foam, even loose-fitting filling foam. The shop is packed with things like mattresses and pillows. They'll also help you get down and dirty with rubber flooring and mats, anti-fatigue matting, and they have industrial mats and rubber. Aha, not so squeezy. If they don't have it, Andrew will get it. Plus, for Over the Bonnet listeners, mention the show and ask for your discount and you'll receive 10% off the marked price. That's right, 10%. But that's only for Over the Bonnet listeners when you mention the show, and you have to ask for your discount. We can't go without mentioning Luscious Licks, 100% fruit ice cream. You can find them at local markets and all sorts of events. They are a really delicious alternative to conventional ice cream. Plus, the good news is Luscious Licks is completely dairy-free, gluten-free, and with no added sugar because there's nothing added. And best of all, it's guilt-free because it's healthy and it tastes great. Look out for Luscious Licks in the Pink Marquee at a market or event near you. And finally, the show is brought to you by bepositive.com.au in Yandina. bepositive.com.au is your one-stop shop for first-rate beekeeping supplies and raw honey. It doesn't matter if you're just a backyard beekeeping enthusiast, semi-professional apiarist, or just interested in bees. Check out Bee Positive on the Sunshine Coast or on the net at bepositive.com.au for a wide range of beekeeping equipment and advice that's backed up by more than 20 years' experience. Bee Positive also provide apiary services including swarm relocation, hive setups, and Steve is always ready to share a wealth of knowledge about proper beekeeping practices. To get started, check out the online shop at bepositive.com.au and they'll promptly ship orders Australia-wide.